Today is a great day for crypto. Everything is going up because Bitcoin has hit 120k. Now the altcoins are appreciating as well, some altcoins better than others. In this video we're going to look at Turbo, one of the top performers today. The central question is, what is driving the rally in Turbo besides just the overall market going up? Who is buying here? Who is selling here? And could Turbo potentially continue to outperform? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. Now this is not the first video on Turbo on this channel. I publish videos on the asset regularly over here. The very first video came out 414 days ago. And the video outperformed the average video by quite a bit. It made 190 subscribers. Now the recent update happened 2 months ago, and that as well outperformed. It got 81 subscribers. So it seems like there is persistent attention on the asset. And in general, attention and price development is somewhat correlated, right? The more people look at a particular asset, the more potential buyers there are, the higher the price can potentially go. Now, the nice thing about Turbo is that it's not the largest of the altcoins. It's at place number 213 in terms of market cap. It's got 372 million, and there are plenty of meme coins that have double, triple, or 4 times the size even. Turbo is housed on the Ethereum chain. It's the 52nd largest token in terms of liquidity among the trending assets. And in the last 24 hours, we only saw 131 wallets interacting with the asset. So that's the idea, right? We want to buy an asset where attention currently isn't necessarily that high, but where trading volume has potential to further increase and bring the price with it. In total, we've got 56,000 holders on the chain, but some of those holders might just hold a few cents worth of the token, arbitrage bots for example, while other wallets might hold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of the token. So we have to look into this number in a bit more detail. In the last month, it's interesting how especially the returning users interact with the token more. So it's not necessarily new wallets, new investors that buy up tokens. It's existing wallets that have purchased Turbo in the past that continue trading it. So 1 month ago, we had roughly 400 returning users interacting with the token. Now that's close to 700 users. But again, it's the returning users that's going up. It's not necessarily the new users. Zooming out a little bit and looking at the number of buyers and sellers over time, we get to the following graphs. On the left, we've got the absolute number, and we can clearly see how attention goes in waves. Sometimes there's a lot of attention, sometimes there's not that much attention, and the ratio of buyers and sellers fluctuates as well, with most days having slightly more buyers than sellers. The same is true today. Now, the nature of trading for the Turbo token has changed over time. In the early days, there was a lot of activity on-chain, and now this has shifted to the centralized exchanges and to the perpetual futures, so to the levered bets on the price. Just have a look at this. This is the number of retail investors versus whale investors over time. The way we make this distinction is by looking at how many tokens are held in a particular wallet. So for the left chart, that's at least 200,000 tokens. So at the current price, that's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. In the middle, it's 2 million tokens. On the right, it's 20 million tokens. We can clearly see that in the last weeks and months, we did not see any of those wallet cohorts significantly increasing their allocation. Yet, and that's the potential disconnect, since the 7th of April to today, Turbo went up by roughly 300%. So how is it possible that the price is appreciating by that much when the number of holders is barely moving? The answer is that activity is moving from the Ethereum chain to the centralized exchanges and to the market makers. So there are a few players with very deep pockets that use leverage to prop up the price and prop up the volatility in general. Just have a look at this. In the last 24 hours on the spot market, we only saw 30 million worth of trading volume for Turbo on Binance. And all of the leading exchanges are centralized. They are not decentralized on the Ethereum chain. And now have a look at the trading volume on the bets on the price, the perpetual futures, the short-term capital that goes in and out of assets regularly. Here we had 219 million worth of trading volume. So really, the price discovery now happens on the perps. It doesn't happen on spot anymore. Capital from the perpetual futures is short-term in nature because funding rates are very high, but slippage is very low. So getting in and out of the token is cheap, but holding the token long-term is expensive. Thus, when we see a lot of long activity on the perps, we tend to, at least short-term, see price appreciation that then afterwards might deflate as leverage comes down. And usually the price goes the way of most pain. So what we see here in green and red, that's the funding rate of Turbo over time. And when this turns very negative, that means that the vast majority of speculative money is currently betting on falling prices, though the shorts have to pay the longs in order to bet on falling prices. And that's a great situation for the manipulators, for the market makers, that then squeeze out those shorts. They buy up on the spot market, push up the price, and force liquidate all of those shorts, make money with liquidation fees in the process. Currently, the funding rates are much more balanced, but they tend to rather be on the negative side right now as well. Just have a look at how many shorts got liquidated during that quick rally. And also have a look at how much correlation there is between the bets on the price, so how much people are betting on Turbo, versus the spot price development. The price of Turbo is now clearly dependent on how much leverage there is in the market. And we are not necessarily at historical heights in terms of open interest. So there were times when we were much higher. Now open interest is at around 40 million, but there were times when we were at 90 million. So when the bets further inflate, then it might make sense to bet on falling prices. But right now the market is in somewhat of an equilibrium. Now, I do have an announcement to make. I always talk about how to bet on relative valuations, right? How some altcoins might outperform or underperform Bitcoin and Ethereum, and how those relative valuations aren't that volatile, right? We tend to see relatively clear trends, and how there's quite a bit of alpha to be made with this, right? We can outperform using those clear trends. The only issue is that for most people, this is a bit too complicated, right? You have to learn the platform, you have to learn risk management, how to adjust stop losses, etc. And so here's now the big announcement. I have launched for a small number of people to just deposit capital into a capital pool and then automatically copy trade whatever I do. The launch happened 24 hours ago for the annual subscribers of premium of this channel. And it's already going well. Of course, there might be some volatility to the downside, but currently we are 1.7% already in profit. Before that launch, I tried this out myself on a personal account. So I started with 40K, moved this to 60K within 2.5 months. And while I don't expect to get the same kinds of returns when moving more capital and when maybe luck isn't that much on our side, I still believe that the strategies we are using will yield long-term risk-adjusted positive returns. So in the early days, I did this all with borrowing and lending platforms with DeFi. Now I moved to perpetual futures, right? Bets on the price. But this relative valuation bet approach, I already do this for almost 4 years. So that's what this chart is showing, right? If I just dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin, I would have gotten this light gray line as return. But instead, I got the black line in return. And here is how I do this. I check for altcoins that have a quickly rising supply, while the demand doesn't grow at the same rate. So this is the example of Balancer. I show this very often here publicly on this channel as well. Of course, there are way more examples that I share in the closed community. But because of that token inflation, relative valuations tend to go up very, very steeply. So this is now Ethereum relative to Balancer. So we go short Balancer, or we borrow the Balancer token, right? We profit when Balancer goes down, and we go long the thing that we believe will outperform. And then we get a chart like this. It's a strategy that works for many altcoins. Just have a look at the overall altcoin unlocks over time. So how much new supply hits the market and how much capital needs to flow into the market just to keep prices stable. This here is weekly unlocks, and it tends to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars every week. Especially this week is extremely aggressive with unlocks. And so this is the return we get, but that happens because this is the actual performance of the altcoin. And this is a chart we see very, very often. Just have a look at your favorite altcoin with high unlocks relative to Bitcoin, relative to Ethereum, and you're likely going to see a chart that goes down quite consistently. Who's getting all the tokens? Who's benefiting from this? It's the founders, it's the contributors, it's the early investors. They are all dumping on retail. So when you're wondering why your altcoin portfolio tends to underperform Bitcoin all the time, it's because of that, right? It's because all those people dump on you regularly. And so that's how we make money as well. We make money when the insiders dump on retail, and most retail investors don't know how to play the game. I made a lot of tutorial videos on the topic: how to bet on relative valuations with perpetual futures, how to do proper risk management with those bets. And then also, and this is the big thing, right? How to provide capital to a capital pool so that every trade that I make automatically gets copied with your funds as well. So that something like this isn't theory, but actually becomes practice for yourself as well. You don't have to necessarily go through all of those tutorial videos and have to do active trading all the time if you don't have the time. If you do want to trade yourself, there is obviously the offer, because I do share my trades in real time as well, right? For example, here, this is the balancer short that I announced on the 19th of July of last year. So that was over here. Since then, balancer outperformed Ethereum by more than 116%. And so if you've got some capital, but also some time, then there's the monthly membership, right? You just sign up, you watch a few tutorial videos, and then you can copy trade whatever I do. And of course, also do additional trades besides that. If you don't have much time though, if you cannot do the active trading yourself and you're busy with maybe managing a business or a very busy job, you've got the capital, you don't have the time, then you can also automatically copy trade me. The automatic copy trading feature is available for the annual subscribers. So if you sign up for the annual premium membership, you get a bit of savings as well, but you also get access to the automatic copy trading, which again, I've just recently started. We don't know yet how this will perform, but in the last 2.5 months on my private account, it did pretty well. And very long term with borrowing and lending platforms, it also did pretty well. I can't guarantee that it will continue to work in the future, right? Prior returns are no indication of future returns, as people say. But in general, I try to get the odds in our favor. Right? When everybody dumps on retail, we can still profit from that if we set ourselves up accordingly. A link to premium should pop up directly here on the screen. Just click on that. It will lead you to the website. If it's the very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube, or see you in premium. Cheers.